Hi guys, and welcome to my TED Talk. So today we're going to be talking about what is ethics, and I have to explain it to my friend. Um, so ethics is basically just your reason guide to what is moral and what is not moral. So basically, like philosophers, they study questions just like scientists, but philosophers don't have experiments and variables and stuff to use for their studying. They just have to find the reasoning. So, say that they find that there's aliens outside of the world, which is one of the arguments we're going to talk about. That they physically, like stuff that is on Earth right now, cannot physically say that there's life existence out of the world. But if they want to find reasoning as to like, oh hey, I have found this, this, and this, that doesn't mean it is true, that it's moral, that it's correct, that I have found this, even though we do not have physical evidence showing this. So basically, ethics is just what is morally right and what is morally wrong, and we're trying to figure that out. It is just your reason guide to study what you ought to do. Now, if I'm in an ethics class, for one, there's two arguments as to why I can take this class, and I need it, and I need to understand it. So there's a negative and a positive argument. So negative argument basically is going to explain your objectivism and your theorism. So they both kind of talk about the same kind of stuff, but objectivism in this handout, he kind of talks about some aliens that, like, if we find, a professor says that there's aliens outside of Earth, or there's living human beings outside of this Earth, for example. Then, if someone starts to believe it, it's not just gonna magically appear just because we started believing it, even if it wasn't true in the first place. Now, if it was true in the first place, and you started believing it, and people saw it before then that's fine. That doesn't have to be an ethics question. But since there was no aliens to begin with, and you started believing it, and then you saw some, it doesn't make any sense because they weren't there. So we're just going to talk about subjectivism. So basically, this is just defining that just subjectivism, moral subjectivism is not right. That's all ethics is doing, and that's all these arguments are doing. So moral subjectivism basically means that, like, you are this person. You believe that, oh hey, aliens live outside of Earth. Cool, great, wonderful. And then this other person doesn't believe it. That means you have to be like, oh, I can't tell you if you're right or wrong because you believe it. You believe it. So you're not wrong. And it's just like his example that he puts in here and on his video. He talks about how Scary Man wants to kidnap people and put them in his basement and make them live forever. Well, if you say that's morally right because he believes it, then you can't yell at him. You can't be mad at him for doing what he believes is morally right. And that is what the positive argument talks about, is how if you believe how he mentions killing babies and the mass singer and death camps, if someone believes that those are wonderful and great for the world, and this is your individual person, then, and you're a moral subjectivism, then you have to be okay with this. You have to be like, oh, death camps are okay because you believe they're okay. Now, if you're not this, then you can say, no, death camps are awful. We do not need to have them. We don't need to talk about them. And then for a cultural view, what he mentions is all those same things, but in a cultural view. So we live in the United States. The United States president decided to say, hey, death camps are great. Let's go ahead and get them. You have to be okay with that because your president said it's okay, and your subjectivism, so you have to agree with that. And that is just basically what ethics is trying to get to you, and what these positive and negative arguments are trying to get to you. That even though you think it's morally right, it doesn't mean someone else is going to think it's morally right. And just because it's legal doesn't mean it's morally right either. And that is what ethics is talking about, is the hard questions, what we need to decide what is morally right and what is morally inright. Now, the arguments that I just talked about, I thought they were good arguments. I feel like they do show that subjectivism is flawed. Theorism, I think it is, theorems, however you say it, confused me a little bit, so I'm not very good at explaining that one, but I understood objectivism simply because of the aliens. I really got that one, and I definitely don't think death camps and killing babies are good. I haven't watched The Masked Singer, so I can't say that, but I understood those arguments, and I hope I kind of explained them in part B to my friend. But that is the end of my TED Talk, guys. Hope you enjoyed.